Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom. It's our TOEIC unit for today.
Yes.
And we've got an article, well, rather it's a conversation, about a new product that somebody's introducing at a trade show. And in this particular case, we've got Rolf, and he's the person who's trying to get people interested in his company's new gadget. And then we've got Susie, who is a potential buyer who seems to be interested in the new product. And so Rolf is introducing a new gadget to her. A gadget is some kind of device that helps make our lives easier.
Yeah, we don't think this is a device or gadget, but it's something that someone's made up. But it sounds interesting, and I think one day we will have this, if not already.
Hopefully.
Right now, we're going to read through. I'm going to take Susie. Tom, is that okay? Can you do Ralph?
It's
okay.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Fine. Here we go. Let's listen. Good morning, ma'am. I see you're looking at the Diagnoser, our company's new medical device.
It's very interesting, but what does it actually do?
It has two principal functions. First, it takes some important health measurements, such as your temperature or your blood pressure. In the same way, it can measure blood sugar levels, which is critical to people with diabetes, as it helps them to calculate the dose of insulin they need.
That sounds extremely useful. What is the second major function?
Well, in addition to taking simple readings, it can use the data to diagnose a person's state of health.
Can you give me an example of that?
Of course. It can detect the presence of bacteria or viruses that cause disease and even scan your DNA for genetic abnormalities.
This little gadget can do all that? I have to say that I'm a little bit skeptical. It sounds too good to be true.
To be fair, this device is just a prototype that only performs the more basic functions. We're still developing the final product. However, we wanted to use this trade show to give people a taste of what we're working on.
I see. I'm interested in learning more about the Diagnoser. Do you have any literature about it?
Yes, take one of these leaflets. You can also visit our website. Okay, everybody, it's time now to discuss the contents of our lesson in detail. The title is Introducing a New Gadget. We did touch on this a little bit in our introduction, but again, a gadget is some kind of small device, a mechanical device, maybe an electronic device that can do various functions for you. I could say that, hey, your smartphone is an electronic gadget or device. It's similar to device. And here we've got Rolf introducing some kind of gadget at a trade show. So people are walking around looking at different products and devices. Well, here they've got a new gadget to introduce to people.
Yeah, I think Tom's right about saying that gadget and device are similar. You can use either one for this. Let's see. So we've got Rolf, who is the sales guy. He's kind of smooth. You want to be smooth if you're a salesperson. He says, "Good morning, ma'am. I see you're looking at the Diagnoser, our company's new medical device." Even Rolf here uses the word device, so either word is just fine.
Pretty much the same thing here. So Susie is the person who's visiting this trade show. She's going to the various booths and looking at their products and stuff like that. But she seems to have taken an especial interest in the device that Rolf has at his company's booth. And she says it's very interesting. This device looks very interesting, but what does it actually do? It looks interesting, but I want to know more about what it can actually do.
Yeah, so it sounds like it has a wonderful exterior, but, you know, something can look cool and not do anything cool. She wants to know if it really does something important. So Rolf divides this into two explanations, or one explanation with two different functions. It has two principal functions, meaning it has more functions than just two, but these are the most important or main functions. Principal here could be main or most important. First, it takes some important health measurements, and then he lists those as maybe your temperature, how hot your body feels, And maybe your blood pressure, which is really important. You want to check your blood pressure to see if, you need to exercise more or maybe eat less meat and salt. And in the same way, it can measure blood sugar levels. I'm going to let you talk about blood sugar levels, Tom.
Okay, well, that's the amount of sugar in your bloodstream. Too much is bad, too little is bad. So, of course, you need to regulate your blood sugar. That's mostly done with insulin from your pancreas. But, of course, if you've got some problems with that, you're probably going to have diabetes. So, of course, you need some kind of device to measure your blood sugar levels. And as Rolf here says, that's important. It's critical. Critical just means very, very important to people with diabetes, 糖尿病, which is diabetes. And it helps people who suffer from diabetes to calculate the dose of insulin they need. If you calculate something, you just try to determine the amount of something, usually by using mathematics, okay? A calculation, that's the noun form of to calculate. So, yes, you get this blood sugar reading and you look at a chart and say, okay, well, if my blood sugar is this level, then I need to use this much amount of insulin. Insulin, of course, is 胰岛素in Chinese. That's a special kind of chemical that your body normally produces, but in diabetics, it has problems with that, and you need to give yourself shots of insulin.
Right. Well, Susie goes on to say that sounds extremely useful. What is its second major function? Remember, that's its first major function or first principal function. The second principal function, he says, is, well, in addition to taking these simple readings, a reading is the figure that you see when you use a measuring device. It could be digital, I have a blood pressure device at home that I put on my wrist, and it's got batteries in it, but you can see my blood pressure numbers in the little window. That's what we're talking about when we say readings. The figures that they come up with when it measures whatever it's measuring. Those are the readings. It can use the data that it gets to diagnose a person's state of health. If you diagnose somebody, it means you look at some of their symptoms and their condition and what you see in front of you. Maybe you want to take more blood tests or get an x-ray. But usually doctors can identify the nature of the problem after they've done a thorough examination of a patient. And like I said, that could include more tests. Maybe they want you to do a stress test for your heart. Maybe they want you to go and get an MRI or a CAT scan, things like that. But once they have this information and they looked at your symptoms, they try to come up with a diagnosis. And that is the noun form of the verb to diagnose.
Exactly. So, yes, you get these readings and the machine can probably tell you the disease that you might have, but you probably should still talk to your doctor and compare notes and stuff like that. But in this device, I guess, has some kind of computer built into it, and it can use that data or maybe send that data to a computer in order to determine exactly what's wrong with you or how good your health is. And Susie says she wants an example of that. Can you give me an example of that? An example of when the device takes those readings and then it uses that data to diagnose a person's state of health. And Rolf says, well, of course I can give you an example of that. He says, it can detect the presence of bacteria or viruses that cause disease, and it can even scan your DNA for genetic abnormalities. Ooh, that sounds like it's a pretty advanced function there.
Yeah.
So we've got bacteria and viruses. I used to have trouble telling the difference between those, but one of them is like much bigger than the other one.
Yeah, the virus, we usually...
very similar, right?
Well, the flu virus, there's nothing you can do for that. But the bacteria is when we turn to the antibiotics. That's if you have some bacteria. But I just know that virus, you're out of luck, But with the bacteria, sometimes that antibiotic can help you. Most of our colds are viruses, unfortunately.
And viruses, of course, grow inside living cells, and that's not good. But in any case here, sometimes you can handle viruses, sometimes you can't. But in any case here, this particular device can detect bacteria or viruses. The presence of those things, it can tell if they're there. To detect something just means that you discover or identify that something is actually there to detect. This new telescope can detect planets orbiting around distant stars.
Or all of us have smoke detectors in our homes. If you cook too much and you've got smoke going out throughout your kitchen or your house, that smoke detector will start making a sound. That's the alarm to get you out of there. Make sure you know there's too much smoke here. Something's wrong. And this little device, this gadget, it can scan your DNA for genetic abnormalities, which is amazing. So it's looking at your DNA to see if you have the potential for any weird diseases in the future. Nowadays, people are checking their DNA for some really awful diseases to see if maybe in the future they have that possibility. I know some women check their DNA for maybe the presence of cancer, like breast cancer. So people are looking into this more and more. And abnormality means something is wrong. Abnormal means wrong, not normal, the opposite of normal. So if you have something that's abnormal, it could cause you some problems in the future.
Exactly. So that's an abnormality. They're looking for those abnormalities. They're checking the DNA for genetic flaws, for example. A flaw would be an abnormality, something that's not normal. And Susie says, or it's actually kind of a question here, this little gadget can do all that? She's not really asking for an answer there, but this is kind of a question.
I think she sounds doubtful.
Right? Or she's either really surprised or kind of doubtful here. Really?
Yeah.
Are you pulling my leg? Can it really do all that?
Right.
She goes on to say, I have to say that I'm a little bit skeptical. I would be too, especially about the last claim there.
No kidding.
Being able to scan your DNA for genetic abnormalities. The last time I heard that that's something that can only be done in advanced laboratories for a really high price. But to have it in a small device like that sounds kind of doubtful. So she's kind of doubtful, and she says that she is skeptical. And if you're skeptical, that means you're not easily convinced. Okay, well, science says this and that, but I'm kind of skeptical. I don't really believe it's true.
Yeah, and this is a very famous line we use when we feel skeptical about something. It sounds too good to be true. There are a lot of products that are advertised on TV, infomercials as we call them, that, they promise you that it'll change your life, and sometimes I really watch these and I laugh at them because they all sound too good to be true. Ross says, well, to be fair, this device is just a prototype that only performs the more basic functions. When new products are designed and produced, manufactured, they always come up with a prototype first. It's the first model of something that's ever been made of that thing. And when they start manufacturing in large quantities, in large numbers, they're going to copy that prototype. But a lot of times, the prototype doesn't do everything that the final product will.
Exactly. So they kind of come out with a first thing and then work on it, get feedback from people and stuff like that. So Rolf says, I don't blame you for being skeptical. To be fair, this is just a prototype. It's just the first generation, and it only performs the more basic functions like maybe checking your blood sugar and your blood pressure and stuff like that. And we're still developing the final product. We're still working on the other functions like the presence of bacteria or viruses, or being able to scan your DNA for genetic abnormalities. Yeah, they're still working on that. They're still developing the final product.
However, he says we wanted to use this trade show to give people a taste of what we're working on. If you get a taste of something, it does not have to be food. It could be your friend playing his new CD for you to give you a taste of this artist that is performing on the CD. Oh, you get to get a taste of history if you watch a documentary on TV. There are lots of ways you can get a taste of something. It gives you a clue or an idea of what something's like. And they wanted to let people know what they were working on, and that's why they developed the prototype prototype. Now, Susie says, I see I'm interested in learning more about the diagnoser. Do you have any literature about it? Now, when you're coming up with a product, even if it's an old product or a new product, it doesn't matter. If you're going to a trade show, remember we've talked about trade shows before, you're going to want to bring a lot of literature about it. We're not talking about classic books, that have become famous over the years. That's literature, right? Poems, poetry, any wonderful novel. That's literature. We're talking about pieces of documents, you could say, that explain what your product does, maybe the dimensions of your product, what it's made of, all of those important pieces of information for your consumers. You're going to want to put them on either one piece of paper or maybe you even put together a pamphlet, a little book, a pamphlet to pass around at these trade shows.
A pamphlet, maybe some flyers or some leaflets that have information printed on them. We're actually going to be looking at their leaflet in our next lesson. It's going to be telling us all about the diagnoser. But of course, Susie's just seen this product for the first time, so she's more interested in this product and she wants to do some reading on her own. So she wants to know if they have any more literature or information about this particular prototype. And Rolf says, well, yes, take one of these leaflets. And as you described there, Stephanie, a leaflet is kind of like a booklet, just a little bit of information. Maybe it folds into itself or something. You can fold it out and have a bigger look at it. And then Rolf says, you can also visit our website, and I'm sure the leaflet has their website printed on it, or they've got it right there at the booth. She can just enter it into her phone's search engine, and she can get all the information she needs.
Yeah, so it's just a way to, I guess, make contact, get an idea of what the product is, and then after you leave the trade show, that's when you're going to do really the intensive research about something. Right now, guys, we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back with some extra dialogues and, of course, a discussion question, so stay tuned.
Hi everyone, my name is Jenny. 今天我们看的是第7单元。好，这是多益的文章。我们先看看这个单元里面这个对话内容，其实是在商展，我们要介绍物品给客人认识。好，这个新的装置 Gadget 是什么呢？它叫做 Diagnoser。我们先看这个有趣的字啊。Diagnoser 我们从字的拼法就可以看得出来，加上 ER通常要不就指人，要不就指某一个物品。这个地方因为它是个 gadget 装置，所以这个装置就叫做诊断器。好，那这个物品从拼字来看的话，它从动词变过来的，动词就是 diagnose。D-I-A-G-N-O-S-E 当然我们还很常见的就是它的名词 diagnosis D-I-A-G-N-O-S-I-S 好，知道这几个字的关联性，那我们就比较清楚这个到底用来做什么了。这肯定是跟医疗方面比较有关系，它可能可以作为诊断我们健康状况的一种装置。好，这边下面对话中，在这个介绍的过程里面，当然他这个 Rolf 要介绍给客人知道它有什么样的功能。那他提到说它有2个主要的功能。第一个最重要的就是说我们有一些健康测量，包括我们的体温、血压，还有它可以测量我们的血糖浓度 blood sugar levels。 接下来呢他就说到了那对顾客来说这一点好像真的蛮重要的。那除了这个主要功能，第一点还有第二点是什么呢？第2个主要功能他就说到，他除了读取这些数据之外，他还可以用这个数据来诊断我们的健康状态。好，那这边有一个 in addition to， 我们知道 in addition to 这个 to 它当然是介系词，后面呢在接受词的时候一定是名词或者是动名词，这就是为什么你看到的 taken 加 ing。 好，那说到了它除了读简单的数据之外，它可以来诊断出我们的健康状况，那就要举例说明咯。它告诉你一个例子，就是 它可以让你发现有细菌、有病毒，还可以扫描你的 DNA， 然后寻找基因异常。我们就来看一下这个 abnormality 这个字，它的确比较难一点，但是我们一定要把这个字拆开来看一下，因为我们知道 normal N-O-R-M-A-L normal 是正常的，那前面一个 AB 是它的反义字，如果你说有一个现象是 abnormal， 那就是表示它不正常，它异常，而这个加了 A-L-I-T-I-S， 它变成了一个名词，当然原来是 A-L-T-Y， 这样名词一看就知道原来它就是异常的名词。好，那我们继续往下看，下面说，哇，这个东西好像真的很有趣呢，这样这么好，它开始听起来想到 It's too good to be true， 这个我们常说 something is too good to be true， 就是简直好到令你难以置信。好，接下来他就说了，似乎是如此。那其实这个 Rolf 就说，我们呢，当然现在给你看到的是一个原型机，不过也想利用这一次的商展，让大家稍微体验一下我们现在到底在做什么，有什么新鲜的、有趣的装置可以介绍给大众认识。这也是他这次商展的目的，所以他用到一个片语 give people a taste of。 A taste of 这当然本来是讲品尝一下，可是让大家稍微品尝一下，也就是说先看看体验一下。接下来下面就说，好，这样子的话，今天呢知道了这个 diagnoser， 那这个客户也很有兴趣，他就问到，那你是不是有一些资料可以让我看看呢？在英文里面，当你说文献啦、资料啦，用到的字是 literature， 大家可能会觉得有点奇怪， literature 不是文学吗？其实没错，我们比较习惯的是 literature 当文学，可是呢，他在做研究报告的时候，它也可以是指文献或是资料，这也就是在这边的解释。如果你有任何有关的资料，我们想看一看，用到 literature 这个字，请大家特别注意。我们下次见。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, we've got some extra dialogues to talk about right now. So here we go. Let's say I'm the person who's interested in the diagnoser and I'm going to ask this question. So here I go. I'll be A here. Does the diagnoser need to be connected to the internet?
No, all of the necessary information is contained in its data bank. Sounds like this little diagnoser has a big computer chip inside if it can hold lots of information on its own.
Right. We probably need some kind of processor and some memory, but, they're selling flash drives all the time with 32 gigabytes, 64 gigabytes.
1 TB nowadays.
Yeah, I remember my first computer, I think, had maybe 256 megabytes of memory.
Wow.
That is just nothing nowadays. So, of course, this particular device probably has its own computer and it does not need to be connected to the internet. But, hey, if you want to connect it to the internet anyway, you could probably get some more information. Who knows? All these devices seem to be integrated nowadays. So that seems to answer the question. Here's another question we're going to ask. Does the diagnoser require a blood sample?
For some tests, yes. For others, you can just hold it against your forehead.
Interesting.
Ooh, that sounds like magic.
Well, I would imagine that for a blood test, if you want to measure your blood sugar level,
I think it needs some blood.
Yes, you're going to have to prick yourself with a pin or something like that. Although I would imagine this device has some kind of pricking function to it. Yeah. You kind of just stick your finger in a little hole and it goes doink, and then there's a little drop of blood.
I hate that.
And then you drop it into a little, spot or something, a little sample window or something like that. And then it will test your blood and give you a measurement for your blood sugar level or whatever it is you're looking for.
Yeah, because with your blood, they can actually test for lots of things with your blood.
Sure.
Don't ask me all of them, though. I don't know.
But some of them allow you to hold it up to your forehead. I remember when SARS was really a problem. What's it, about 10 years ago or so? Whenever you went into some stores or a hospital, they would hold a thermometer up to your forehead.
Really?
To measure your temperature. I don't know how accurate those things were.
Interesting.
But they needed something that could act fast because there are hundreds of people going into buildings all the time.
I once got stopped coming back into Taiwan. You know how they have the two ladies or the men at that little station to see if you look sick, and if you look sick, they won't let you in. I actually set off the alarm because my skin was so sunburned that I set off the alarm for having a fever, which I did not. And I kept saying to them, you could tell I was sunburned. But boy, that was really an interesting experience.
They didn't believe you, huh?
No, they had to really check.
Okay, well, it's better to be safe than sorry. You never
I was hot,
know.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, but here's another question.
Yeah?
Would you mind if I tried the diagnoser out?
Be my guest. Let me sterilize this one before you use it.
Yes, could I try it out? And, of course, to sterilize something means to kill all the bacteria so you don't get sick or you don't get the germs from the person who used it before you. And be my guest means, hey, you're welcome to do it. No problem. Okay, so those are very helpful conversations here. Now here's a discussion question. What do you think of the idea of the diagnoser device? Explain your answer.
Well, as I was looking at this, I thought, wow, it sounds like today's society where people, instead of going to talk to a doctor and, get real tests, they'll look up their symptoms on the internet and diagnose themselves. I've actually done that. And then I'll go to the doctor and I'll say, but I read this and this. And they always give me that look like, oh, please.
Really?
I'm a doctor. Don't trust the internet. I do think it's smart, though, to go and talk to a real doctor and not just try to self-diagnose, which means you kind of look at what's going on and with your smart brain, tell yourself what's wrong with you. I think you need a real professional.
Well, that is true, but you do have to remember that with Jianbao here in Taiwan, doctors are seeing hundreds of patients every day, and it's probably a good idea to at least do some homework on your own to figure out what's wrong with you. Doctors can't catch everything.
That's true. But I've noticed that if I do speak English with them, I'm in there longer.
Ooh. Maybe they want to practice with you more.
I have one for sure that does like to. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's something to know. But in any case,
speak English to them.
Or speak Japanese. Maybe they'll like that too. But in any case, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Thank you very much for joining us, and please join us again next time when we actually talk about the leaflet about the diagnoser. I'm sure you're all looking forward to next program. Okay, from all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.